NNPC to extend a Jakarta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline to Algeria. Nigeria and other oil-producing nations maximize output cuts, grace to stabilize. Plus, how is Nigeria faring on world's most political crop, wheat? What should the country do to cut down the $4 billion per annum cost on its importation? You will get answers as the program unfolds. This is Business Express, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Amina Nujaim saying welcome. There are plans by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) to extend the ongoing Jakarta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline system across the Sahara to Algeria in North Africa. Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Mekanti Baru, says the extension is in accordance with the regulating body's African integration drive. Baru said the extension of the interstate pipeline wasn't the only one under consideration, as the federal government is also planning to extend the West Africa gas pipeline to Morocco. He, however, did not state when the NNPC will begin the extension of the two pipelines. Trading in the shares of Diamond Bank PLC has been placed on full suspension on the Nigerian Stock Exchange with effect from Wednesday, 20th March 2019. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, which says this follows the court sanction of a scheme of merger between Access Bank PLC and Diamond Bank PLC. It added that the suspension is required to prevent trading in the shares of the bank in order to determine the bank shareholders who will qualify to receive the scheme consideration. The bank's shareholders had previously passed a resolution approving the merger between Diamond Bank and Access Bank PLC. Wheat is regarded as the most political crop in the world. This may not be unconnected with its diverse use. Nigeria is said to be spending between $4 to $6 billion every year to import wheat, despite having a favorable condition to grow the product. Muhammad Ali in this background report tells us where Nigeria is coming from and where it intends to go in wheat production.
From time immemorial, wheat has been produced in Nigeria due to the favorable climatic condition for cultivation of the product. Its production has, however, had checkered history in the country due to inconsistent policies by successive governments and the global politics associated with its production. Wheat farmers in Nigeria had a new lease of life in 1988 when the Babangida administration banned its importation and provided farmers with support to locally produce it. That gave rise to a national output of from 50,000 metric tons to about 450,000 metric tons. The honeymoon was, however, short-lived, as successive governments failed to build on that, and the low quality produced then also made bakers to prefer foreign wheat. The decision by the Buhari administration to diversify the economy using agriculture as the driver further gave wheat production a new impetus. About 300 hectares of wheat were cultivated between 2016 and 2018, producing about 1.5 million metric tons. The country targets about 500 hectares between 2018 and 2020, thereby producing 50 to 60% of national requirement. Nigeria spends between $6 billion and $4 billion importing wheat per annum, and the new drive is not only aimed at reducing that huge foreign currency being spent on importation of wheat, but also achieving self-sufficiency by the year 2025. This is in addition to generation of employment and wealth creation through value chain. With the introduction of new heat-resistant seeds capable of providing yields from the present 4 tons per hectare to about 7 tons per hectare, it is expected that Nigeria's quest for self-sufficiency in wheat will not only be realized, but also serve as a model for other African countries who together import about 26% of global wheat.
We have in the studio Dr. Solomon Asefa. He is the coordinator of Technology Africa Agricultural Transformation of Wheat Project. It is an African Development Bank project. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, what is the global worth of wheat, and what percentage does Africa and Nigeria contribute?
Thank you. Worldwide, wheat is the most traded commodity with the production of over 700 million metric tons. And of this, Africa is the largest importing continent in the world, and importing nearly 26% of the traded wheat commodity is coming to the African continent to feed Africa.
Okay, talking about the requirements of wheat production, what would that be?
Yeah, if you see in Africa, wheat is grown on over 10 million hectares, but the productivity that we get from 10 million hectares is around 26 million metric tons. So the productivity is very low.
Why is it low?
Because of poor productivity. So Africa covers less than 60% of its requirement, the whole Africa. But when it comes to sub-Saharan Africa, nearly 80% of the wheat requirement that we consume is coming from the other part of the continent. And the reason behind this, wheat, the productivity in sub-Saharan Africa is not exceeding 1.7 tons per hectare.
Okay, you're talking about low production output. What is Africa and Nigeria's potential in wheat production in a realistical perspective?
Good. We have tremendous potential. Africa has the highest arable land which has not been exploited. And if we really adopt the improved technologies and use our arable land to produce what we need, Africa can be self-sufficient and has the potential even to export to other parts of the continent.
Now you're talking about technology. What technology are you making reference to?
Very good. When we say technology, I'm putting in perspective to Nigeria, for example. In Nigeria, wheat has been produced for several decades of years, and the productivity, unfortunately, is very low, which was not exceeding 1.5 tons per hectare. And these are local varieties. But with the introduction of heat-tolerant wheat varieties, which we developed in partnership with Lecture Research Institute, ICARDA, CIMIT, and other partners, with the adoption of heat-tolerant varieties, wheat productivity can increase from the 1.5 tons per hectare to 4 to 6 tons per hectare in farmers' field, which means the productivity can go triple and quadrupled if farmers are adopting the right technology and with the right package for wheat production in the Nigerian agriculture.
What role can government play to implement the idea that you are proposing?
Very good. With the partnership that we worked with our Nigerian partners like Lecture Research Institute, Ahmadu Bello University, Sasakawa Global 2000, our farmers have shown and proven that they are able to adopt the improved technology and they increase their productivity. So the government is now putting wheat as a major priority commodity. Mind you, Nigeria today spends over $4 billion to import and satisfy more than 95% of its wheat requirements. On the other hand, Nigeria has the very suitable environment for wheat production, huge arable land potential. So with this new technology that we are introducing, it is possible that Nigeria in the coming 3 years can produce up to 500,000 hectares, and this will give us the country to save or to meet the demand of 60% of its wheat requirement. And in commercial value, Nigeria can save in the coming 3 years. If 500,000 hectares is covered with these improved heat-tolerant wheat varieties that we developed over the past years, Nigeria can save between $2 to $2.5 billion. And we believe, with the assessment we made in Nigeria, if all these improved varieties are grown on more than 800,000 hectares, we are very much planning to achieve for Nigeria to be self-sufficient in the coming 5 to 6 years by adopting this technology throughout the country. So producing wheat in Nigeria is not about saving foreign currency. It is rather creating jobs for the youth and women. It is rather developing the production, processing, and marketing, which is a value addition. And this also translates that agriculture becomes a way, it's not a way of living, but a business that brings more income to the Nigerian farmers and value chain actors.
Now, what would you say the value chain of wheat production is?
When you talk about the value chain of wheat, it covers the wheat production, the wheat processing, and also the value addition, which is product development. And it is possible, we have seen in the last years, with development and expansion of these improved varieties, Nigeria is now able to produce high-quality bread, high-quality biscuits, high-quality spaghetti, which are highly needed today, with the local wheat production, which is highly comparable to the one imported from outside. So developing this value chain is creating a great opportunity for stakeholders to develop and benefit from the wheat expansion in Nigeria.
Now, talking about wheat expansion in Nigeria, if Nigeria does pay attention to wheat production, what would you say the impact would be on the Nigerian economy?
Very good. The impact is very clear. The first is Nigeria is able to save the money which is now spending to import wheat, which is exceeding over $4 billion, can be saved and used to develop domestic agriculture and also the value chain of wheat production and other commodities. Secondly, it will create humongous jobs for the wheat farmers and value chain actors who are participating in the wheat production, processing, and marketing. And by this way, Nigeria can transform agriculture and improve the livelihoods of farmers and stakeholders in the country. Now,
pushing it further in closing, what would your projections be for wheat production in a country like Nigeria?
Yeah, my projection in the country, the government is also setting a strategy. It is possible Nigeria can grow from the current, which is not exceeding 200,000 hectares. Wheat can grow up to 500,000 hectares in the coming 3 years. And my projection is that Nigeria can produce nearly 60% of its wheat requirement in the country. And by 2025, with a potential that is available in more than 13 states of the country, Nigeria can fully produce its domestic wheat production and achieve food self-sufficiency by 2025. Let me say one word. Importing wheat is not only saving currency, it is also importing poverty. We are importing poverty and exporting jobs for others to get a job while we are remaining poverty. And therefore, developing the wheat and achieving food self-sufficiency can bring a huge transformational impact in Nigeria in terms of improving the livelihood of the farmers, stakeholders, and creating jobs for the youth and women in the country.
Dr. Solomon Assefa, the Coordinator Technology for African Agriculture Transformation and African Development Project, thank you for joining us on Business Express today. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much. And I'm very happy to have this opportunity to show what we can do in Nigeria. And I believe that this will happen in the coming years.
Things can only get better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nigeria's 2018 budget of 9.1 trillion naira had 5% of it allocated to the health sector. However, experts say this will not be enough for the needed health care of over 200 million citizens. It has now become expedient that public funds be properly and efficiently utilized with compliments from the private sector. The Minister of Budget and National Planning through the Budget Office of the Federation is championing an alliance of players in the health and financial sectors to explore and share strategies on how to maximize value for money in public health. The minister said that healthcare is one of the priorities of federal government, and that is why, in spite of the revenue constraints and demands of other competing sectors, the healthcare sector has continued to receive increased allocations. And he added that the ERGP of the federal government commits the country to investing in healthcare and education in order to meet the international target set under the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs.
Even though the national health, notwithstanding the very tight revenue constraints and notwithstanding the demands of other competing sectors, there has been increased federal allocations to health. However, and this is important, there is a need to ensure that these increased expenditures are actually improving healthcare outcomes. We must be able to show that we are getting value for the public funds allocated for expenditure.
Value for money in the health sector is about maximizing the impact of each naira spent to improve people's lives. It's also about prioritizing our interventions in the health sector and deriving maximum benefit from the scarce resources.
Are of the opinion that increasing number of investors are choosing to allocate their money in the healthcare sector in Nigeria, and for that to happen, all tiers of government must create and allocate new sources of healthcare financing. The contribution of women to the financial sector and a stable economy must be safeguarded with continued expansion of programs for gender parity. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, stated this at the bank's activity for the 2019 International Women's Day in Abuja. He noted that although gender equality is the driver for economic growth and a prerequisite for attaining the 2030 Global Development Agenda, progress in gender parity has been slow. To address this challenge, the bank, in synergy with key actors, developed various responsive interventions that prioritize investment in women, thereby increasing access to diverse sources of financing for women-owned businesses.
McKinsey 2017 showed that if women's economic participation were at the same level as men, $28 trillion could be added to the world's economic growth by 2025. Narrowing the gender gap will foster greater stability in the banking system and enhance economic growth. It could also contribute to more effective monetary and fiscal policy.
Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed harped on government's policies which are geared towards financial inclusion for women.
Well, we're working together with the monetary authorities to make sure that financial inclusion of women is enhanced. It is a fact that women are left behind when it comes to accessing finance for enhancing their businesses. There are special schemes that the federal government have started, the Government Enterprise Empowerment Program as well as the Trader Money. The largest beneficiaries of those are women and girls.
We now take a look at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Trading recorded loss this Wednesday. OSHA index depreciated by 0.13%. Market capitalization dropped to 11.575 trillion naira. 223 million shares exchanged hands in 3,419 deals valued at 2.163 billion naira. Access Bank, Zenith Bank and Fidelity Bank recorded the highest volume of traded shares. Access Bank led the top three price gainers, recording over 9% gain at 6 naira 50 kobo. have just enough time for a look at how the Naira is exchanging for some major currencies. That is it on today's episode of the program. Remember, all previous episodes are on NTA YouTube channel. You can also reach us through our Twitter handle, and the handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to use the hashtag BizX showing on your screen. Until we come your way again, same time, thanks for watching.